Hello and welcome. You've tuned into Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar and with me is Sonia Shenoy. Sonia, good afternoon. I've got the color right. It's green all across the screen, really, today. So it's a good day of trade after the kind of pressure that we had been seeing. So Nifty 50 comfortably above 10,800 levels. That's coming in as a good news. Nifty as well as Sensex almost 1% up at this point. Mid-cap index as well as Bank Nifty closer to about 0.5%. So it's the frontliners really leading it at the moment. And why not the big boys like Reliance Industries, Infosys, HDFC Bank, TCS are all really contributing, Sonia.
Okay, maybe even I've got the color right. You know, the markets are in the pink of health and that's why I'm wearing that color. So, you know, it can work both ways, right? But for the markets itself, I mean, 40 points, if you just look at the contribution plate, 40 points is coming from just Infosys and Reliance Industries. So these are the two heavyweights that are really making their presence felt this afternoon. Infosys, of course, on the back of the numbers, that earnings upgrade. But Reliance Industries ahead of its numbers is doing very well. We'll get to that in a bit as well. But before that, Yes Bank is also among the top Nifty gainers. In fact, it's now up almost 4% on the back of reports that Deutsche Bank's Ravneet Gill is leading the race to succeed Rana Kapoor as the MD and CEO of the bank. Abhishek Kothari is here with all the details. Abhishek?
Sources tell cnbc TV 18 that Ravneet Gill, that is the CEO of Deutsche Bank, is the #1 name in the list that has been given by the board to RBI. Now, there are two names that have been given in the order of hierarchy of preference that Yes Bank has, as to replace MD and CEO in terms of Rana Kapoor when he exits. So Ravneet Gill has led Deutsche Bank in India for 6 years and has over 30 years of experience across various banking verticals. Now, this candidature may get a swift, approval by RBI, given the fact that just 6 months back, RBI had renewed the term at Deutsche Bank for Ravneet Gill. Due diligence, therefore, may reduce and time won't be taken that much with RBI. So, Rajat Monga is the second candidate or the #2 name in the list, while Yes Bank has not responded to our story. Back to you.
All right, that's an important management churn that we are going to see. Thanks so much, Abhishek, for getting us all those details. Let's take it straight to the big boy. Reliance Industries, the top contributor to Nifty today, and the stock is up 2.6% as we speak. Now, the company is, remember, due to report its Q3 earnings this Thursday, and there are some brokerages who have really said that it could be giving more stability, which could be a positive surprise for the market. Sonia will take us through more details on that.
Yes, in fact, you know, the stock is up ahead of its numbers on Thursday, and Goldman Sachs has put out a note where they say they expect Q3, the EBITDA in Q3 to rise by 21% year on year. Now, this time around, there will be a volatility in the hydrocarbon business. The gross refining margins will be under pressure, but that will be offset by the strength in the consumer business. So both Reliance Retail as well as Telecom are expected to do well this time around. In fact, Goldman Sachs believes that investors will be quite surprised by the stability in earnings despite the volatile environment. They expect Reliance's EBITDA to double by FY21 and they maintain a buy with a target price of 1380. Now, the other brokerage, CLSA, has a very aggressive target price. They have a target price of 1500 on the stock and they are betting big on the retail business. They're saying that there is a humongous $550 billion retail opportunity that beckons. They expect Reliance Retail's market share to rise from low double-digit now to 25% over the next few years, and revenue is set to rise 12 times by 2028. A couple of reasons why. One is they are, growing very fast in the electronic space because they are bundling a lot of product offerings with geo connections, and that's helping them. Two, their premium fashion brand JVs are picking up as well, and that's helping them be at the forefront of premiumization. And the last one is they are testing an e-commerce platform where they are listing many mom and pop stores that could catapult their position in the food and grocery business. So across the spectrum in retail, they're doing pretty well, and CLSA is expecting the earnings to be pretty good.
All right, and standard disclaimer there that Network 18, which owns cnbc TV 18, is part of Reliance Industries Group. So that is all the analysis and the heads up on the Q3 earnings of Reliance Industries, which is due on Thursday. Now, earlier today, we spoke with Power Secretary Ajay Kumar Bhalla to discuss the rising financial loss to discoms leading to increase in the outstanding dues, which is affecting their performance and the resolution plans by the government for the same as well. Listen in.
There has been a deterioration. If I total up all the losses of discoms, though these have been improving since FY16 from 51,000 crore overall losses have come down. But if I look at first half year's losses was 8,500 crores last year, FY18. This time it has become 11,000 plus crores. So there is a little disturbing trend that there are losses which have increased. From June to November, December, when I look at the figures, the outstanding dues quantum has increased by about 6 to 7,000 crores. Last year's losses were 15,000 crores after all, accounting for subsidies and all. Either it will be at the same level or maybe marginally more than that. I mean, it will be 17,000 crore or something.
Okay, that's quite disappointing to hear that the discom losses have definitely gone up in this year gone by. But on to a quick note for our viewers. Secure yourself and your family with life insurance. CNBC TV18 in partnership with ICICI Pru Life Insurance has launched a new initiative called Mission Insure India Insurance for All. This is a 6-month-long campaign with the objective to create awareness and disseminate knowledge about life insurance and the need to protect one's family. As part of Mission Insure India, we celebrate 15th of every month as Protection Day, a day dedicated to inculcate the thought of protecting your family's future. It is a century that the Nifty has hit this afternoon, so up more than 100 odd points right now, and big moves coming into a lot of sectors. The sugar space is seeing huge trades right now. So, names like Balrampur, Chini, etc. all up and about 2.5 to 3 odd %. But even apart from that, it's really IT that's ruling the roost this afternoon. So Wipro is now at the high point, up almost about 5.5 odd %. But on to a CNBC TV18 exclusive. The Modi government is gearing up to present its final budget before the 2019 polls. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley is likely to present the vote on account on the 1st of February. Sources tell us that there may be some good news in store for income taxpayers. Let's go across to Timsi Jaipuria to understand more on this. Timsi, over to you.
With all eyes on the upcoming budget, government is likely to bring in some relief for the low-income group. According to sources, government is currently weighing the pros and cons of increasing exemption limit of income tax. Now, sources told CNBC TV18 that government is mulling options to see if it can increase the income tax exemption limit to 5 lakh rupees from current 4 lakh rupees. Remember, this 4 lakh is a combination of two things. That is, one is exempted from paying income tax if the annual income is below 2.5 lakh rupees. And government also allows exemption on various savings schemes to the maximum of 1.5 lakh rupees per annum, thus making it a total of 4 lakhs. And now government is weighing options that this total of 4 lakhs, if it can be increased to 5 lakhs. Not just this, direct tax relief for large corporate houses might have to wait, as sources share that government is unlikely to reduce the corporate tax rate for remaining 1% of corporate taxpayers to 25%, as it feels that the revenue implication of this particular move would be about 1 lakh crore rupees per annum. And this is also reasoned by the thinking of the government to give relief to low-income group first as a priority, as against extending relief to corporate houses. On the other hand, when it comes to indirect taxes, government is also unlikely to make major indirect tax policy changes in the upcoming vote on account budget, as government is very clear that it would first focus on revenue stabilization on the indirect tax side and would also want to wait for any further rationalization of custom duties for the moment. However, let's see what finally happens when Finance Minister Arun Jaitley reads out his budget speech on February 1st. We'll keep you posted. Back to you.
All right. Thanks, Timsi, for giving us a heads up on what's really expected, which is considered to be an election budget. But sticking with the budget expectations this time round, the government is understood to be weighing the options currently with respect to a basic income support scheme for the farmers of the country. Sapna Das, our colleague, joins in with all details on that. Sapna.
Well, that's what the indications are as of now, that probably we'll have to wait for Feb 1 for the vote on account format to be announced, because anything that they say will need an allocation for sure. We are very clearly given to understand that if the income scheme, quote unquote, the income scheme for farmers does come about, the important thing that we need to keep in mind is that it's going to be prospective. So anything that comes in will only be from the next crop season, most likely the Kharif season, picked picks up by around April something or kickstarts from there onwards. So the new financial year is what you should be watching out for. So prospective in nature. And as I said, probably wait till the vote and account. But there's another side of the story that we are getting to hear very clearly, and that is basically the government probably would, like some dedicated funds to make sure that they can make the announcement. Because there are a lot of subsidy schemes in practice right now. The DBT format has already worked for a couple of them. Fertilizer has been under discussion for such a long time that how do you do the fertilizer subsidies through DBT, and then, we've not really heard much on that front. So, a bit of a question mark as to what will really happen to those other subsidy schemes through the DBT. Will there be a further streamlining on that front as well if you're coming out with an income scheme, the fiscal parameters, the fiscal cost, of course, and how sustainable it will be. So I suppose that's where, they are waiting as of now. So no decision yet. But let's see if Feb 1 you hear something on the income scheme.
All right, thanks a lot. We'll keep coming back to you for more on that. But moving on, the stock of the last few days definitely has been Jet Airways. It was extending its gains for the second session. It's come off a tad bit from the highs. In fact, lost quite a bit of its, gains through the day. It's a cnbc 18 exclusive news report that a resolution plan is likely to be finalized as early as this week. We also learned from sources that Naresh Goyal is likely to step down from the board and give up majority control in the ailing airline. Ritu Singh, who's filed this story, joins us now with more details on that. Ritu, looks like a deal is going to get stitched through.
Absolutely. In fact, Sonia, we understand from the lenders that we've been talking to, the meeting has been called for as soon as tomorrow. So all the lenders to Jet Airways will be meeting, and on the agenda is a discussion on the final resolution plan for, the debt-laden airline. As we have been reporting, as per the resolution plan that is underway and is being considered by lenders, one, of course, Naresh Goyal has been asked to leave his board seat. His stake in the company, which is currently at 51%, we understand, after the restructuring is implemented, will fall to almost half of the current level. In addition, we understand that his voting rights will also be capped at 10%. And we do understand that in a compromise of sorts, the banks have agreed to replace him with his son Nivan Goyal on the board of Jet Airways. Also, Etihad, which currently owns 24% stake in the airline, is expected to bring in fresh funds, which means their stake will also rise. And under, FDI norms in aviation, a foreign airline is allowed to hold up to 49% stake. To what extent it will rise will depend on the quantum of funds that are infused. That is also, likely to trigger an open offer. And thirdly, banks will convert part of that 8,000 crore rupee debt into equity, which means the SBI-led consortium will also hold a stake in Jet Airways. These are the plans under discussion. Perhaps more clarity will emerge after that meeting tomorrow.
All right, thanks Ritu for getting us all those important exclusive details. And the stock has lost some steam, is about $15 down from the top of the day. Now Zee Entertainment, that's about 2.5% up and trading higher ahead of the Q3 earnings later this afternoon. Mangalam is here to run us through the expectations. Tell us, Mangalam.
Well, the stock is higher in today's trading session, but over the last few months, Zee has underperformed the markets, and that's for a couple of reasons. The first one, during the quarter, there was a spate of downgrades coming in from a lot of brokerages, be it Kotak, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, or Morgan Stanley. And the second one was the big news that the company's promoters intend to pair half of their stake in the company or get in a global partner. So those were the key highlights that were on top of the investors as well as the street's mind ahead of numbers today. So in terms of numbers, the street is working with a 15% growth on Zee's top line. The EBITDA is likely to grow higher than the top line, leading to a margin expansion. So we have a 20% growth on the EBITDA. 712 crores is what the company is likely to post, and margins of close to 33.7%. Keep an eye out on the net profit. 440 odd crores is what our poll throws up. However, in terms of the components, we'll have to watch out for ad revenue growth. 15 to 17% is on the cards. Domestic subscription growth 16 to 18%. More than the numbers, the management's commentary on investment in Z5 as well as the update on the intended stake sale plan by the promoters is something that the street will be watching out for.
It's a good showing in the markets today. It's about 1% up on both Sensex as well as Nifty, and about 0.5% in Bank Nifty, and mid-caps also really going along about 0.5% up in trade. So it's really the big boys which are really pulling up the markets. Reliance Industries has gained a little more ahead of its results on Thursday, and at the moment, in fact, Bharti Infratel can be looked into as one of the stocks, and that that is one stock in our focus which has lost some ground in trade today and has gone lower in the last few minutes. So that's about the markets. But let's focus on Kumbh Mela, a 55-day religious festival. The largest congregation in the world really kicks off in Prayagraj today. And the Kumbh Mela began with the holy Shahi Snan, where sadhus belonging to about 13 akhandas take a dip in river Ganga. Now, more than 120 million Hindu devotees as well as tourists are expected to visit the city over the next few weeks. Now, this year for Kumbh, a new and temporary city has been set up in Prayagraj with 250-kilometer long road and 22 pontoons and bridges. And this is said to be the largest temporary city in the entire world. Now, the UP government is hosting the Mela with modern amenities and also necessary security arrangements in the place.
All right, that's going to be massive. 12 million people are going to be part of the first Shahi Snan. So hopefully security will be pretty tight as well. But moving on to the globe, Europe is expected to open in the green ahead of the crucial Brexit vote, where Theresa May is expected to head into a historic defeat. CNBC's Steve Sedgwick joins in from London with the key possible scenarios. Over to you, Steve.
So we're finally here. It's a key day for Westminster, a key day for Brexit. Finally, after 5 weeks of delays, the 650 MPs in the Palace of Westminster will get to vote on Prime Minister Theresa May's withdrawal bill as well, which would then, if passed, ensue a smooth exit from the EU on March 29th. Although that is not a likely scenario at the moment, according to many in the Westminster bubble. In fact, Mrs May could well be on the end of a very large defeat, with many of her own MPs from the harder Brexit side of her party voting against Mrs May and her Brexit deal as well. What happens next? Well, there are many scenarios people are talking about. In fact, within 24 hours, Mrs May could well face a no-confidence vote from the opposition leader, Jeremy Corbyn, who has previously said he would do so, trying to embarrass the government and potentially create a new government and then maybe even lead to a UK general election. Others are talking about the potential for a second referendum if Mrs May's bill is voted down as well. Although that seems at the moment an outside scenario. Also, people are talking about a no-deal Brexit, i.e. without Mrs May's deal, there is no other deal on the table at the moment. So Britain would go towards March 29th and actually not have a relationship with the EU on paper going forward as well. What seems most likely, though, is that Mrs May will be forced to go back to the European Union to try and renegotiate a better deal, or at least get additional assurances over the key Northern Irish backstop. She would probably do that by the weekend at maybe a hastily convened EU Council meeting as well, and then she would have to come back to MPs and report on her progress there as well. Lots to play for in the next 24 hours here in Westminster, but nobody seems to know what the scenario going forward will be for Britain and its relationship with the EU.
All right, thanks, Steve, for getting us all those important details. So Brexit will be important today, but markets in ship shape, and it's time for curtains down on Business Lunch. But stay tuned to CNBC TV 18.